billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk puts his money where his mouth is.
I am personally guaranteeing that value and standing behind that guarantee with all of my assets.
His greatest asset is his ability to take this big, big dream and make other people believe that it's true.
The determined engineer's big dreams transformed 3 industries.
I'm just wishing to any entities that are listening, please bless this launch.
Here's an immigrant from South Africa coming to America to say, NASA, that whole rocket thing you're doing with the space shuttle, I've got a better way.
His better way meant risking everything.
We had maybe about a week's worth of cash in the bank, or less. I had to make a choice then that either I took all of the capital that I had left from the sale of PayPal to eBay and invest that in Tesla, or Tesla would die.
Others weren't so willing to take a chance on him or his companies.
You put $90 billion, like 50 years worth of breaks into solar and wind, to Solyndra and Fisker and Tesla and Enter1. I mean, I had a friend who said you don't just pick the winners and losers, you pick the losers.
It's very unlikely that the Tesla investment is ever repaid to the taxpayers. Electric vehicles are really not possible in ways that would be effective for most consumers still.
But his bets have paid off.
We didn't just repay the principal, we actually repaid it with interest and a bonus payment. So ultimately the U.S. taxpayer actually made a profit of over $20 million on this loan.
Elon Musk has even bigger dreams that might just take him farther than anyone else.
Elon Musk goes a step further. Earth's not big enough. With SpaceX, he literally wants to go to Mars.
In the long term, I'd really love to go to Mars, and that's the overarching goal of SpaceX. When I was a little kid, I was really scared of the dark. But then I sort of came to understand, okay, well, dark just means really the absence of photons in the visible wavelength, 400 to 700 nanometers.
It's hard to believe that entrepreneur Elon Musk was ever afraid of anything.
And Elon said, darkness is merely the absence of light.
Then I thought, well, it's really silly to be afraid of a lack of photons. Then I wasn't afraid of the dark anymore after that.
Once one of the kids said to him, look at the moon, it's 1 billion miles away. And he said, well, no, it's actually under 250,000 miles away. And they said, oh, Elon!
Entrepreneur Elon Musk has spent his life proving people wrong. Growing up in South Africa, Musk was the oldest of 3 children and started school a year early. His father was an engineer. His mother, May, was a model and nutritionist.
He was the youngest, he made about 2 days, and the shortest, and then he was this brilliant boy, and so people didn't really like him.
So I was this little bookwormy kid and probably a bit of a smart aleck, so this is a recipe for disaster.
Not that he told me much about it, but he was picked on quite a bit.
So I just read a lot of books and tried to stay out of people's way during school.
And so his social life was much less than my other 2 kids, and that's a typical nerd.
I read all the comics I could buy or that they'd let me read at the bookstore before chasing me away. I read everything I could get my hands on from when I woke up to when I went to sleep. At one point I really ran out of books and started reading the encyclopedia.
And he has a photographic memory, so he could remember everything. Anytime I had a question, my daughter Tosca would say, call Genius Boy.
His brother, Kimball Musk.
When Elon was 10 years old, he got tested by IBM, and he was found to have one of the highest aptitudes they'd ever seen for computer programming.
I tried taking some computer classes, but I was way ahead of the teacher, so it didn't really help. So I started programming a space game called Blastar.
Musk, already thinking like an entrepreneur, figured out how to sell his game.
And I don't think they realized I was 12.
We decided we were going to open an arcade out near our high school. We were big into video games. We figured that it was going to be a huge hit. We got a lease on a building. We got the arcade provider to deliver the equipment. And the only thing we needed to do by the end of it was get the city to approve what we were doing.
But an adult had to apply for a city permit, and they hadn't told their parents what they were up to.
And of course, they told us we were not going to be opening up an arcade.
Hang on, we'll be right back. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this video, please help us grow our YouTube channel by giving it a quick like. Just press the little thumbs up below the video. Be sure to tell us what you think in the comments section, and most importantly, please press that subscribe button so you can enjoy more of our awesome videos in the future. Now let's get back to the video.
Max Chafkin is a technology and business journalist who has profiled Elon Musk several times.
Really, the most amazing thing about his childhood is his escape from South Africa.
I remember thinking and saying that America is where great things are possible, more than any other country in the world. It's a little cliche, but it's true. America is the land of opportunity.
By moving, Musk would also avoid mandatory service in South Africa's army.
Growing up in apartheid South Africa was pretty surreal. I mean, we didn't support that government, we didn't believe in it. And so the idea of actually going to the military service was really out of the question.
I told my parents I was going to Canada, and they tried to convince me not to leave.
And off he flew, and I thought, wow, he's so independent. Of course, as soon as he lands, he calls me and he says, what do I do now?
So I bought a bus ticket from Montreal to Vancouver, and that allowed me to kind of see Canada, at least from the highway.
He worked at odd jobs across the country before settling at Queen's College in Toronto.
In fact, when I went to college, I rarely went to class. I'd just read the textbook and then show up for exams. The big appeal of the university was being able to date girls my own age. I actually met my first wife there.
Musk got an engineering and business degree from the University of Pennsylvania and a scholarship to go to Stanford. Silicon Valley was the promised land.
I really wanted to kind of go where the really exciting breakthroughs were occurring.
Elon had this ability to look at the world and go, this is a real problem that's going to happen in 20 years.
He looked around and he saw that the world-changing stuff was not happening at Stanford.
I didn't even go to class. I called the chairman of the department and said, I'd like to try starting this internet company. It probably won't succeed, and so when it fails, I want to make sure that I can still come back.
My kids do funny things, and I'm never too concerned about them because, you know, if Elon wanted to drop out of college, he could always go back.
My brother was in Canada at the time, and I said, look, I think we should try to create an internet company. So he came down and joined me.
He had, $2,000, no friends, barely enough money for an apartment. I think he told me he was showering at the gym because they didn't have a shower where he was living.
We just got some futons that there were couches during the day and then turned into beds at night.
Steve Jurvetson is a venture capitalist in Silicon Valley.
I first met Elon and Kimball Musk, his brother, back in the mid-90s when they first set foot in California. I think they'd been here for about a week, and they were pitching a new company called Zip2. Silicon Valley in the mid-90s and late 90s was a gold rush. People were flocking to the region to find riches, to make it in the internet business.
Musk came up with an idea to bring newspapers into the digital age. He took a CD-ROM Yellow Pages, some mapping software, wrote a little code, and put it all together to create the first online city listings.
Elon was more the business mastermind, I was more the sales guy.
I still had my core programming skills, so I was able to write the software needed for the first company.
Now, when Elon was starting Zip2, keep in mind, the internet was just a couple of years old. Most local businesses were not on the internet. And the way you found a local business was you opened up the Yellow Pages.
The thought was the media companies, like the newspapers, are going to need help coming online and building lots of functionality into their websites.
We had someone literally throw a Yellow Pages book at us and tell us, do you think you'll ever replace this? And we thought the guy was crazy. Because not only were we going to replace this, but that's not where it ended. It would keep going from there.
It wasn't long before media companies across the country were signing up.
And so we were able to get as investors and customers the New York Times Company, Hearst, Knight Ridder, and a number of other companies.
In 1999, the Alta Vista division of Compaq bought Zip2 for $307 million in cash and $34 million in stock options. Musk was just 28 years old.
I thought, that's crazy. Why would somebody pay such a huge amount of money for this little company that we have? It actually obviously turned out very well for them financially, so obviously they knew a lot more about it than I did.
When the kids sold Zip2, it was the most exciting day. We couldn't believe it because you don't know in the internet world if you're going to, make $1 million or die tomorrow.
You're watching video 1 of a 4-part biography series on Elon Musk. Continue watching part 2 by tapping or clicking on the next video right here.